welcome to another episode of Singularity Speaks. I'm your host, Rick, along with my co-host, Lee. Paul, welcome back.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Today, we're going to talk about the Hollywood Greenlight. It's never really been easy to get a story or script picked up in Hollywood, and it could often involve a bit of luck and just getting the right person to see your script. Today, that's not enough. If a script doesn't come prepackaged with a top director and a top actor, writers should probably look into buying lottery tickets since they'll find a lot more success there than they will in Hollywood. Hollywood studios aren't looking for the next great story, they're looking for the next great asset. And it almost seems that if the protagonist in a story doesn't have a toy line or a 20-year-old fan base, it's just another casualty on the pile of forgotten scripts. These days, writers aren't just fighting for a career, they're fighting for a seat at a table that's been shrinking for years. A couple of months back, February of 2026, we witnessed the merger of Warner and Paramount and the further consolidation of the top Hollywood studios. Now, unlike the Disney-Fox merger in 2019, where Disney went on the offensive looking for media to fill its new Disney Plus streaming service, here, Paramount was struggling to stay relevant, and they took on massive debt in this effort to correct that. Along with these mergers comes the expected loss of jobs due to redundancy, the expected lower overall project output to minimize spending, and the expected focus on blockbusters to help cover that massive debt. For writers, it's just more doom and gloom in an industry that already had enough black clouds hovering over it. Now there's one less studio to listen to a pitch, one less studio to bargain with, and for consumers, more consolidation in an industry that's already struggling to find ways to keep those consumers engaged. These days, the Hollywood green light is sadly more of a Hollywood black light. But where does the blame lie? Is it with the studios for forcing writers to stick to more known and more proven IP? Or is it on the consumers that, despite complaining about being mired in a sea of the same old thing, are weary of giving anything else a chance for fear of it being canceled? So let's get into it.
I think we might be getting back to, and Lee, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. Getting back to the era of the antitrust when there were just like, weren't there the big five major studios, and then even actors and stuff were all under long-term contracts, and the studios had like immense power. Everything was consolidated. Are we going back to that, or how is it different than that era?
You can really look back on the pandemic for the way that things changed. I mean, everything was a streaming service before that, but everything after that really became a streaming service. The 45-week window for a movie really became a thing, and that's if they weren't directly being put out by HBO Max, which was the case with Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, Dune Part 2, I believe.
The streaming services were a huge thing during the pandemic because the theaters almost didn't survive it, right? Like,
I was reading it, like the streaming just about doubled during the pandemic. So even more, it went up even more than the theaters went down, I think. I was looking into it, and it looks like the lowest that it was like a 17-day window during the pandemic, during the height of the pandemic, when like a film to streaming was like just a little more than 2 weeks. And now that's kind of bounced back from that. I think right now it's longer, right? It's a month or so. But 2 weeks is like, that would have been unheard of. I remember in the 80s, you would wait like 5 years for something to come on VHS, remember?
Yeah, exactly.
And one thing I was reading about that changed is the whole marketing. Like now they're marketing them all together instead of doing marketing for the theatrical release and then marketing for the streaming release. Now it's all merged.
So, because you mentioned, Paul, the 5 studios, right? So let's look at the top 5, Hollywood studios that make films. And this is their 2025 rankings based on their earnings for 2025, right? So Disney's at the top at $6.5 billion. Warner Brothers is number 2 at just under $4.5 billion. Universal is number 3 at just under $4 billion. And then a big drop off down to Sony Pictures at $1.5 billion. And then Paramount at just over 1.4 billion. And now you've merged, you have Warner Paramount, you've lost one studio up there at the top. They've now become one. So that's one less place where you can go as a writer to pitch, to get a project greenlit, to get something off the ground, right? So I know, Lee, you were talking about the Disney Fox merger, right? What do you guys say about that?
That's another thing along with like the Paramount Warner. It's essentially the same thing. It's just two studios merging. Just
right.
Kind of just, I don't know. It's more options are better.
And so it really hurts the creatives, right? Because then everything really becomes something has to be around for 20 years. It can't, coming up with a new idea isn't viable anymore because just the cost of production and everything. Like a movie, I was thinking about a movie like Clerks, right? Filmed in black and white on an incredibly low budget would just like, so really what made that a success was the great writing, the comedy, the acting was great. They had those elements, but now that's not enough. It seems like. Could a movie like Clerks get made today?
Definitely not. I mean, it could, but would it see the light of day? I don't think it'd get theater distribution. Like, there's no way it could, because it wouldn't be able to make back what it costs to make nowadays.
Yeah. The cost of entry is really high and can be restrictive. Yeah.
Or what about a movie like Rocky, where that was like an incredibly low budget movie that was really successful, both with audiences and with critics, right?
Rocky's a good example of what's happening today, where you have studios that are not interested in taking too many chances and are willing to throw money at proven entities, right? Like proven IPs, because they know there's money behind it, right? If you think about the amount of debt that Paramount took on for this merger. So Netflix made the first initial offer to purchase Warner Brothers Discovery, just over $80 billion. And then Paramount came in, there was a back and forth, and it ended up with Paramount.
We won't go into why.
I know. Paramount won the bid with $111 billion, all cash, for the entire company, where Netflix really only wanted HBO and the Warner Brothers movie studio. They were going to spin off, sell off like CNN, TBS, TNT, right? But Paramount
and they were
wanted
going to shorten their theater release windows for Warner Brothers movies.
Exactly.
Time, to like, what did they say? Like a month, maybe 3 weeks.
So now you piqued my interest, Lee. Like, what was the reason that Netflix didn't win out on that deal?
Well, there supposedly was people that were involved in the Paramount deal that had ties to bigger entities that had more sway in that decision, supposedly.
Like a good old boys club type of thing?
Maybe. Allegedly, supposedly. And and Netflix got ousted out of the deal. So from what I've read, HBO wanted to be sold to Netflix. That was the deal that they wanted outright. I don't think either choice was a good choice for them, but they had to make one.
I heard the same things, that the Netflix deal was the one that they wanted to take. But when you get $111 billion of cash thrown at you, what do you tell your shareholders, right? Like, no, we're not going to take that. Like,
that was the other thing too, right? One was a cash deal and one was a stock deal.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what most deals are nowadays, are stock deals.
Right. The interesting thing to me on the Netflix side of this is, because the deal fell through, they got a $2.8 billion termination fee. So they got a free $2.8 billion just because the deal fell through.
Yeah.
Man,
when you say they, who got the...
Netflix got that.
Really?
Yeah.
Netflix could lose $1 billion for like a day for the rest of the year, and pretty sure they'd still be okay.
At least 1 million, right? But so I was looking into, okay, well, what are they going to do with that money? Like, what's their plan? Now they got a free $2.8 billion. And the first thing I read, okay, they're looking to do share buybacks. Okay, I guess, right? Whatever. And they're going to look into more investments into gaming and live event projects like sporting events, different things like that.
That is, to me, the wrong decision. I want to see all that money poured back into a 5th season of House of Cards. Drop the allegations.
Right.
Bring back the cast.
Okay, sure.
Let's finish this. If someone can get reelected, so can Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, I mean, how come
he'd have to come
we
back
hold
from the dead? Never mind, scratch that.
How come we hold actors to more accountability than we do politicians nowadays? It's
yeah, I don't know.
That's a whole other episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it would be great for them to take some of that money and invest it into new shows and take some risks there, right? Do either of you guys have a Netflix subscription?
Mm-hmm. I do. I have a Netflix subscription, American, and then I have my VPN. So, and like I could tell you that Netflix is one of the I don't know. I mean, they're a corporate subscription service just like any other one, but they do cast a wide net for shows. So like I feel like their net is so wide for what they pull in show wise that like a lot of the things like they're under the radar. Like they have so much that it's almost overwhelming in a way.
Things have really changed.
You miss a lot.
Things have really changed from like I remember in 1989 was like the year of Batman, right? And every other person on the street was wearing a Batman hat. The logo was everywhere. Everybody was talking about it. Now there's it's like information overload. It's like streaming. What am I going to watch? I don't even know. There's so many, and it's hard to get the feel of the zeitgeist of what other people are watching because everybody's got their own specific show. Not everybody's watching the same thing.
I would say the modern equivalent of that would be like Game of Thrones on HBO, the phenomena that was that show. Well, at least in the first like 4 or 5 seasons or so, even up to the end. I know a lot of people were disappointed with the how the show ended, but people would talk about it. Every week during the season, it was a big thing. Pop culture was a show. Yeah, totally. And there are kids that were named, after characters in the show. That's how crazy.
I guess there are still some shows, like another one I was thinking of was Stranger Things. Like
Stranger Things, yeah, absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Or like,
but do you think a show like Stranger Things gets greenlit today? Do you think Netflix would take a chance on a show like Stranger Things now?
It depends. It would honestly, I think it would have to be like one of those shows that was made by the BBC that got picked up by Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of like the shows that Netflix does produce themselves nowadays. Besides like Stranger Things or I guess Orange is the New Black isn't a thing anymore. Umbrella Academy is so few and far between and fell under the radar. Sweet Tooth's another one.
Right.
They've got so many shows that it's almost like
I think what frustrates me is you get into a show and the next thing you know, you hear, it was canceled because it didn't meet expectations. And it's like, come on, like what expectations does it have to have in order to keep the show going, right? And I understand they've got to pay residuals for as long as the show's up for streaming and, maybe the cost. Like for streaming, I don't know, it just seems like they continue to raise prices and then cancel shows that are interesting. And that sucks.
Mm-hmm. And
as a consumer,
they're specifically trying to find shows that are like really low budget but high revenue. Like they're specifically trying to, go for that route.
That's another reason why a lot of these streaming services are trying to get like live sporting events or like how like Netflix had the WWE deal, and they're constantly getting NFL deals, and then all of the Jake Paul fights, and different things like that, or different like concerts and things. But that's with every streaming service too. It's
something that frustrates me a lot is just there's so many different streaming services, and originally it seemed like Netflix was a thing, and then everybody would go on Netflix. But then they're like, oh, we've got our own IP. We're going to create our own streaming service, Paramount Plus and Disney, and they all spun off their own, trying to compete with Netflix, right? Which caused a lot of headache, because then it's like, well, what do I have that streaming services? Is that a Netflix show? I mean, like you said, Netflix has a lot of shows, but just the splintering of that. And it reminds me of, remember in the early days of music streaming? Like nowadays, you subscribe to a service and you can just stream any song from any record company. But it used to be they all didn't want to work together. And so it would be like you'd be missing a catalog of songs. And which streaming service has the Beatles, which one doesn't? It seems like we're in that era. But I wonder if it'll eventually go to that where we'll just have one like streaming services. Huh?
If you want to listen to Garth Brooks, you have to have an Amazon Music subscription. So they're still playing that
game. I think there's going to be this point where people are fed up with the price increases, right? Because in order to keep people engaged, they have to have new content, right? Because there's only enough of the old stuff that people will go back and watch so many times. There has to be new things to keep people subscribed, that keep people engaged with the service. And that's got, that has to be covered in the subscription cost, right? So whereas like during the pandemic and early in the streaming era, these streaming companies were willing to throw all kinds of money at whatever just to get people signed up, just to get people engaged with their service. And now they've got to find a way to keep them. Oh, and too, this whole paid tier thing, right? So both Disney Plus and Netflix offer
HBO Max.
Do they do it too? Yeah. Okay. So HBO Max, they offer an ad version, right? You can get your cost to entry is lower, but you're going to have ads throughout everything. And they love it because, they're making a lot of money in advertising. But the content where they're going to make the most money on that ad revenue is going to be shows, for sure. More so than, a movie, it's watched and then it's over, right? On a show, people are constantly watching new episodes, and re-engaging with that content, and they can drive that advertising.
Yeah, that's interesting, because if it's just a subscription where they don't have ads, then they almost don't want you to consume the content because they're not getting anything from you when you're watching the content, right? You're just
right. Except that's that the more you are engaged, the more reason you have to pay that monthly fee to stick around, right?
Yeah, I see. That's true. Yeah.
So Rick, I want to ask you a question about the ad tier thing, because I'm a person that pays for all ad free,
right?
Because I can't stand it. But
sure, I get it.
One thing that irritates me is when I'm watching a live sporting event, or say like certain shows, like my kids and I will watch just like Monday Night Raw on Monday on Netflix. And during the commercial breaks, it'll have like actual ads for commercials, unless you're watching it with a VPN. God bless VPNs. Sure. And you just get an advert from the actual company or something. But like, there's still like a lot of people that are still paying for ad free on like certain subscription services. But say when you're watching March Madness or something like that, and you still have to sit through a lot of like Buffalo Wild Wings ads.
Yes.
Is that something that could be a potential lawsuit somewhere down the road? Or
oh man, I don't know the logistics of that.
You're talking about the like when you pay to not have ads, but you're still in effect getting ads from they're not,
because it's like a specific event on there, but you paid specifically in your tier for no ads.
For ad free. Yeah. I see. I mean, the same thing kind of happens with YouTube. I had YouTube Premium for a while, And then I was like, oh, cool, YouTube with no ads, right? But then they're still they're doing, thank you for sponsoring this video to such and so. And
they still have,
I'm still getting
they still have their Bombas ads on freaking YouTube.
So the reason that became a thing was because in the early days of YouTube, their payout was a lot better, right? But YouTube realized that they weren't making enough. They weren't making enough, according to them. So they had to change the payout scale and how content creators how much they get paid. So in order to supplement that, creators got sponsors for the video. So and that's money that goes directly to the creator, right? YouTube doesn't get a chunk of that.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube takes their cut from the ads, if there's ads, or if you're a subscriber, if you're a premium member, they get paid by, I believe it's by how many minutes you watch of the video, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so every video that you watch, they get paid by how many minutes or whatever that you're watching that content of theirs.
So it just seems like YouTube is taking, or Google is taking too much money from and not giving enough back to where the creators have to go, oh, well, I'm going to have a sponsorship, right? In other words, they're not sharing enough of that like premium subscription revenue.
So do you guys know who the YouTube streamer Markiplier is? Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Have you heard of his movie that he just produced and released, Iron Lung? Yeah.
No. Okay. No. I haven't.
So yeah, he wrote and produced a movie called Iron Lung. I don't know anything about it. I haven't seen it other than it exists and it's a thing, and it was pretty successful. It was pretty successful for him.
Game.
Yeah, and I didn't know in researching this topic, I didn't realize how YouTube is becoming a place for people to get noticed. Where, like, if you think back to, let's say, okay, 20, 25 years ago, early 2000s, and I'm going to throw a couple of names at you as examples, like a way for writers to get their foot into the door to some of these bigger Hollywood studios and get into bigger projects and have their own stories kind of get greenlit, was to do TV shows. If you can have a successful TV show, that's your foot in the door, and you can build up from there. Two names, Joss Whedon and J.J. Abrams.
Mm-hmm.
Two guys that started, TV and then moved on to bigger Hollywood.
What was it, Felicity and then Alias?
Yeah, there was Lost for J.J. Abrams.
Mm-hmm.
Joss Whedon had
Firefly. Buffy
Serenity.
the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, Buffy, right?
He's got nothing but allegations. But
exactly. Exactly, right. But now YouTube apparently is a place where people can maybe get their foot in the door there. There was another couple of shows that kind of got their start on YouTube. I have
the Bros of Simi Valley.
Has Been Hotel. I don't know if you guys heard of that, right? It's Amazon, right? Is that where? Mm-hmm. Okay, so Has Been Hotel did a self-funded pilot on YouTube. I did not know that. I had no idea that's where they got their start.
And then A24 produces it on Amazon.
Is that who does it for Amazon?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah, interesting.
Or they distribute it or something. They have something to do with Has Been Hotel.
A24 does things differently than a lot of other, right? Like how would you describe the way that they're different from A24?
It's how they market movies, man. It's just they make them cool. Even if they're not cool, they make them cool. And it's all just marketing. They just have a really hip marketing. And it's funny too, because they've been a studio for a while. Like if you look at some of their first films, like they've been around for quite a while, but with like movies like Midsummer and Everything Everywhere All at Once, and then recently like Marty Supreme, like they're just like the marketing machine. Like it's like if it has that A24 logo on it, like people are gonna go see it. Cinephiles are gonna want to buy those Blu-rays when they come out, or purchase the merch. And
It seems like they're more creative than a lot of other studios.
Yeah.
They're willing to do things that other studios don't.
If you make like a creative indie film, like it's definitely the studio you want to attach your project to and get it distributed through. The other one is Neon is really coming up and putting out a lot of good films. That was the one that Parasite was put out on like years ago.
I heard about Parasite. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so they've been around for quite a while too, but they're really getting their name out there and putting out a lot of good projects like A24.
What's the other A24 one? It started on YouTube, Backrooms?
Yeah, Backrooms. Yeah,
right.
My kids are super stoked about that too.
Yeah,
I've seen
my
all
kids
of
want to
Kane
see
Parsons stuff too, and I'm excited.
Yeah,
but
so that
I'm
was
looking at what the rating is, and I'm like, I'm not sure the kids want can see that. Yeah, but yeah,
unless they're claustrophobic, they should be fine.
That started on YouTube as well, and A24, picked it up. Yeah.
That guy's got such a really cool, unique vision too. Like just for what he did on YouTube, those like 9-minute, 14-minute videos of the Backrooms are really, really cool and creative.
But how much does the film version of the Backrooms have to do with like how much of the people moved over from the YouTube to the film version of it? Because sometimes things get really messed up when you get people that aren't fans or don't know the material.
I look at it as like this. Kane Parsons is having everything to do with this project through A24. So it almost kind of feels like with the trailer and everything and watching like his shorts, like it feels like his like if he got the budget to do his like real vision of what he wanted to do, this would be.
So let's talk about some numbers of the Warner Paramount deal real quick. Under this deal, Warner Paramount will now account for 27% of the domestic box office. Like what? So Warner was number 2, right? Paramount was number 5. And together they represent over a quarter of all tickets sold in the United States. So for Warner Brothers last year, their big hits were Superman and a Minecraft movie. So Paramount's big hit last year was Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning. So only Disney. So Disney is the only entity studio that's larger than Warner Paramount right now. So Warner Paramount would end up being number 2. The streaming market. Okay, so Max and Paramount Plus will now have a streaming market share of over 21%. They now are the number 1 streaming entity in the country. Disney Plus is number 2.
Did that? Oh, really? Like, where's? So wait a second. Where's Netflix on this? Are they number 3? Warner Paramount, it has 21.4% of the streaming market. Netflix has 19.6% of market share in streaming. Now, if you were to take Disney as a bundle with Disney Plus and Hulu, well, then that puts them at number 1 at almost 26% market share of streaming. Right. So Warner Paramount now own over 15,000 film titles and how many thousands of hours of programming, like TV programming. And then if you look at high-end TV, so like they call this the prestige market, adult dramas, they're going to be at around 50%. They're going to have a monopoly on this. So HBO and Showtime were the 2 primary buyers for these kind of shows, adult dramas. And they're going to be both under one roof, Warner Paramount together. So they're going to control half of that market. So any writer that had ideas and shows that they wanted to put together, well, that 50% of the market is now under one person's decision, right? Under one roof instead of 2. And that's crazy.
It doesn't just put all that on under that umbrella, like writers and directors and everything, but also puts it's like who knows if those studios have their own teams of like grips and cameramen and everything else. So it's like,
yeah, exactly.
You're just isolating more jobs for all creatives.
Yeah,
right.
People in the industry losing their jobs because it all merged. So it's like, hey, we don't need 2 grips. We don't need to get rid of one of them. Yeah,
right. So that leads to this next point that I want to bring up. The deal was $111 billion, and that leaves Paramount with around $80 billion in debt. That is how much debt they took on to make this deal. $80 billion in debt. So to pay that debt, the first thing they're going to do is it's estimated they're going to have about $6 billion in synergies. So that's savings from layoffs, from redundancy, right? From just like you were saying, Lee. So like grips and all these things, they have their own. They don't need 2 of these groups, right? Technology integration, and then canceled projects.
So all people losing their jobs, like
exactly
right. Exactly.
Or all new directors getting their passion projects just snuffed out.
Right. So writers aren't necessarily competing with other writers anymore, or with other writers. They're competing with the interest payments on that debt, right? On that $111 billion in debt or money that they took to purchase. And this is what's messed up. Do you guys remember a few years back, the movie Coyote versus Acme and all of the kind of stuff about that? Did you hear about that, Paul?
No.
The documentary. Yeah.
No, tell me.
Okay, so Coyote versus Acme was a live action animated hybrid film starring John Cena.
So kind of in the same vein as Sonic?
That one. Yes.
It's kind of in the same vein as Sonic, that type of thing?
Yeah, that kind of a thing. Exactly, right? So it was a Warner Brothers Discovery
think of Space
film.
Jam with John Cena.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Yeah. In the testing, like once the film was completed, right, they go through, show it to different audiences to get feedback and make any changes and whatever, right? So during that, it was testing really well. It was going to be a good movie, and it seemed like it was going to do well. But despite that, the CEO of Warner announced they were not going to release it, and they were just going to write it off. It was going to be deleted, removed, it was done, and they were going to take a $30 million tax write-off. Because here's the thing.
Same thing with Batgirl, right?
Yeah, pretty much same thing with Batgirl. So the movie.
So how far into production was it? It sounds like it was quite a ways.
It was done. It was done. Done, completed. It cost them $70 million to make the movie, right? And this is the thing that studios will do nowadays. So they'll look and they'll say, okay, based on audience response and our testing, we estimate that this is going to bring in, say, $40-50 million. It's not worth it. We're just going to cancel the movie and write it off. And that $30 million tax write-off is way more of a benefit than us releasing it, because not only in the release, and then it goes to streaming, and then there's all these residuals that you have to pay to everybody involved, and they're just like, it's not worth it.
But
right?
What does this leave all the people that worked on the project? Like, then I was on this canceled project, I was on this canceled project.
No, exactly, right? So that is the creators' frustration with this, is that's their work for so many years, and not just the writer, but on the actors and everybody involved. And they can look back to these projects and say, okay, this was what I worked on, and it's on their resume. It's a released product, and they can use it to help get other work, but they can't after it's been, deleted and written off.
Like referenced it and nobody's heard of it. Like, how did that do? Well, we never knew.
Yeah, and once they use it as a write-off, they can't make money off of that. It's done. It's, it can't be shown.
Well, let me ask this, so if they're able to do all these enough accurate metrics to be able to determine that, hey, it just makes more sense to write it off at this point, right?
Yeah.
Then why are they getting that far into production before? Can't they do those metrics earlier and say, it wouldn't even make sense to start it? Or does it have something to do with the tax?
It has more to do with the tax.
Wow.
Than, yeah, exactly. And that's what's messed up. So, and I don't know if you heard this, Lee, after that, there was a push from the public to change the laws. The people wanted if the movie gets canceled, then it then goes into the public domain. And it's free. It's free to distribute, free to show, so that it gives the creators an opportunity to still say, okay, my work's out there. It's in the public domain. It's free, right? But at least they can reference that as a finished work. And the studios were, they wanted nothing.
They don't want competition from something they're not making money on.
Exactly.
The funny thing about that, though, is like, I don't ever side with corporations or studios, but think about how many movies we would have seen that never were not supposed to, but never would have seen the light of day otherwise.
I can't imagine how frustrating it would be to work on a project and then realize your audience is going to be zero, like to spend years.
Yeah. I heard Prince did this with a lot of documentaries he filmed and like music that he recorded, and then it just is all in a vault. And it might never see the light of day. He hired Kevin Smith to film a documentary for him that never saw the light of day. Yeah,
that's so funny. Was it because his standards are just so high, or why would he?
I don't know, man. Creative people are weird. Like they, if they don't like something about something, they probably pull it and it never sees the light of day.
Prince does seem like that type where he would like he doesn't want to be a part of it unless it's exactly to his, kind of like who was the writer of that comic book The Watchmen, who's like so particular about his stuff that he's
Alan Moore.
Right, that he's denounced.
Alan Moore hated everything.
Everything. He's like hated everything that's.
But I mean,
if he's not pulling all the strings,
he's like is seeing the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I could see how you'd be a little pissed off.
The interesting thing that how the Coyote versus Acme thing ended up finishing out was Warner Brothers was holding on to it for kind of playing hardball for a few years. They wanted $75 to $80 million to break even, but they weren't even allowing counter offers like $75-80 million, or we're not. There's nothing to talk about. And really, Warner Brothers just wanted the movie to die. Like at this point, they just, because if it comes out and it's a good movie, well, then they look like they're idiots. And it shows that they were just doing it for the tax purposes, right?
Oh, I see. Yeah. So they've got nothing to gain from.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's not about creativity anymore or the artists. It's just like that doesn't matter to them at all. It's just the accounting books and.
Exactly. So March 2025, Catch Up Entertainment ended up and bought the rights for $50 million is what they ended up paying for it. And it's getting a theatrical release later this year, August 28th. It's finally coming out. So all those actors
have they released a trailer?
Not yet. Not that I know of. Right.
Do you think so? And I know marketing is a big part of it, right? Like if something doesn't have a big marketing push, it can really throw things off.
Yeah. And they will, I'm sure, once it gets closer, like once you get, a couple months, 2 or 3 months away, they'll start doing some kind of marketing for it. But at least it's getting a release, at least it's getting out there.
Is John Cena going to participate in the...
I don't know. I would assume so. And I don't know what when you buy the rights to a film, what does that include? Does that include?
I don't know. I don't know if it gets, the actors' rights to go, you guys have to go and promote this movie.
Go to all the junkets. And,
how is the marketing going to work, I wonder? And do they have the rights to certain, because sometimes the rights are really specific about, like, you have these rights for marketing, but you don't have these rights.
Sure.
To the like you can do the character here, but you can't do the character with this and this type of media. That could really hobble their and marketing makes a big difference.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate that that's the way things work out for the creatives in the process, right? But the bigwigs aren't necessarily, like we just said, it comes down to finances. It's more about the money than not messing with somebody's career or whatever, right? It isn't as important to them.
Mm.
The streaming. So I didn't know this either in doing the research for this. So, and Lee, tell me if you knew about this. So when a agency will submit a script, it isn't even it isn't even read. It's put through like a data layer, I guess, they go through and they compare it to other shows and see what genre it is and make comparisons to determine if it's even worth it for them, right? So it isn't like somebody sitting down and reading this story and
this sounds like resumes with AI nowadays. It's like
exactly,
you're not going to get a human eyeball on it unless it gets through the AI filter.
Algorithm nowadays,
everything's got to fall through the algorithm. Yeah, it's like and then compared to existing stuff, but that kind of it just seems like it would limit the creativity of something new, right? If everything's being compared to something else by an algorithm.
I think it's even sadder that like you don't have a single person that a studio trusts to recognize a good script. So like it's like they would trust an algorithm to tell them whether a script is good by plugging it in and like feeding it into and asking Claude to tell them if it's like a good script or not, as opposed to like a guy who's read enough good screenplays in his life to like be like, all right, we should greenlight this. This is going to go somewhere.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
Well, the AI has read millions of screenplays, and but I'd
really
agree with you though that it wouldn't.
And if we've learned anything from AI, it's that it always gives us the right answer to everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no such thing as AI slop. That's what.
Yeah. And how disappointing is that to realize as a writer, as a creative, to hear that the first thing that your life's work is gonna get put through some AI filter that's gonna determine if it's even worth anybody even looking at your script.
Like, there's only one thing to do. You have an AI write your script, and then you turn it into the AI.
Yeah, exactly. The AI's like, I love this. It feels like I wrote it. It's like,
we just give up and let AI do it all. Right?
The computer just blows up.
It's man, that's sad though. It's like that's what it seems like it's pointing to, is eventually just cut out the human entirely, right? Like just they'll just press a button for a new blockbuster movie. Just what genre do you want? That's the only thing you're picking. 1 through 4 or whatever. Superhero movie, boom.
Well, the music industry is a whole other topic. We could do a whole other episode on that. But like AI music is.
I was reading about somebody that was saying, I don't want to get too off topic, but somebody that was saying that they don't listen to any radio, or they don't buy any, they don't do the streaming services. They just subscribe to the AI music and they listen to that in the gym.
Oh my God.
And they go, it's totally customized to me. It's awesome. So I always listen. I'm always listening to a new song. They're like, I'm always listening to a new song.
Oh my, that sounds, I'm sorry. That sounds awful. That person sounds like hell.
It sounds like they wipe with sandpaper.
Somebody was like, your taste in music can't be that great if you're getting it shoveled by an AI.
That's insane. It's like when you listen to can you like, I don't know. That's
so thinking about it, Lee, think of a newer show, streaming in particular, I guess would be a good measuring stick for this. A new show that's different, that's good. Like, what would you say, in your opinion, is a good new show?
Like for me recently, I don't know. It feels like everything is kind of based off of something. Like it's like been a novel or a graphic novel or something before.
Sure.
I really liked. Trying to think, it was probably an HBO show before it got absorbed by Paramount. But I really liked Station. I believe it was Station 13, Station 11. I don't know. It was one of those HBO shows. But it was a miniseries, and it was really good. And it felt like it was a completely original script and like a completely original concept. It could have been based off a book. I don't know. It might have been based off a book, but it was good, and it was original. I feel like a lot of the really good shows nowadays are like mini series because it's hard to keep a show going. So a lot of them are like limited series or like mini
Sure.
series.
Well, you're also limiting your expenditures if it's a limited series, right? So if
That's true.
if it's a 4 to 6 episodes instead of 10 to 12 episodes, then it's much cheaper to produce. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Going back to John Cena, I really liked Peacemaker, even though that's kind of, I mean, the premise of the show and the character is completely different from the comic back in the day. But like, I really liked that, and that was only, I guess, a limited series. It was only 2 seasons, and then they're not going to do a third one. So, I mean, but I don't know. I feel like everything is kind of like a pre-existing IP.
Paul, you introduced me to one a handful of years ago, Westworld.
Oh, right. Yeah.
On HBO.
I couldn't
That
watch
was good.
that.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
It's very dark and it is pretty
too dark
brutal.
for me. It was
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. And it had what I think 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there, 3 or 4, until they ended up in the same spot that Coyote Acme. Like they were just like, it's cheaper for us to just kill it. And
it seems, what is it with that? Like, it seems like that's happening in the video game industry too, where like they'll have a hit game and then everybody gets laid off. Like there's been a whole bunch of layoffs across the video game industry.
There's
like
been
it doesn't seem like
cancellations before they're even released.
Before it's even released, right? Yeah. And even if it is a hit, you get canceled anyway. It's like it really, I would think that would really cause burnout with creatives, because it's like, well, even if you put all your heart into it and it succeeds, you're still going to get laid off, or they're still going to make it a tax write-off or something.
I read this story of a voice actress, because, so it was Ubisoft, I believe, that had just announced they had canceled a bunch of projects and kind of trying to, wipe the slate clean and rethink and restart and realign groups onto different things. And there was a voice actress who had gotten like her big break in one of these Ubisoft games that got canceled. And she's like, I put a year or more of work into this project that nobody will ever hear. They'll never even know. She's like, it could have been my big break to get my foot in the door to more work. And now she's got nothing.
So many times you hear about, in the past, I remember hearing about a director was like, oh, they had a bit part in this one scene where they just walked in, but their acting was amazing. So then I picked them up, right?
Sure.
Like Leonard Nimoy, I guess he got picked up for Spock because he just had like a walk-in scene in a minor role, and he'd been trying for years, but he got seen, right? If everything's getting shelved like that, then none of that's happening anymore. There's no talent gets discovered.
I think that's kind of one thing that like I believe too, is that like the way that like Steven Spielberg got discovered and like all that like is kind of a thing of the past. Like it's like, yeah, there's still auditions and stuff like that, but it's like if you don't have a social media presence, or like you don't have like an existing like, platform before that, it's definitely harder to get noticed nowadays. And with directors, it's completely different. It's really hard to get your projects noticed. And even if you can get your projects noticed, to get financial backing and distribution is a completely different
Because
challenge.
Spielberg started, didn't he have some success? You were talking about success on television, moving to film. Like Spielberg had like TV movies that were successful, I think. Right?
Interesting.
It's different then too, because like I remember taking just recently taking the Universal Studios like bus tour, and they got the little snippet with Steven Spielberg, and he pops on screen and he talks about how he just used to sneak on set and just hang out on movie sets and stuff back when they used to film in Hollywood, and just kind of like got his experience early on that way, just kind of like looking at everything and just kind of giving his own personal tours to himself behind the scenes. And then he'd finally get found by security and thrown out. But it's like, I don't know. I feel like the old Hollywood, even Hollywood itself, it's cheaper to film in Canada. It's cheaper to film in Georgia. It's even cheaper to film in New York than it is in LA. And so I feel like it's kind of getting like cast out of that. So it's I don't know. I feel like you just have to. It's almost like a guerrilla filmmaking nowadays. It's like if you make an indie film, it's like you have to have a. I don't know. And then maybe this is just a stigma with me, but I feel like when I'm scrolling on social media and I see an indie film director and his film looks, even if the script is great, even if it's really captivating, if it doesn't capture me in some way, with the production or something, I feel like I'll just scroll past it. And like, I feel like a lot of that has to do with the way that you're kind of conditioned with Hollywood blockbusters and the way that the movie industry is nowadays. That's kind of a tangent, but whatever.
Yeah, this ties into some research that I was doing that like it becomes more about the experience. Like that's why IMAX and different theatrical, like, so to go to the theater becomes they want to charge you twice as much for the ticket. Less people are going to theaters, but then to make it like an IMAX experience or something like that, people aren't going to like just a small screen theater to go see a movie that's not like an epic event. What did they call it? Eventification, I think.
Yeah,
I was reading, but even that, I remember, remember Avatar came out. And then everybody was thinking 3D was going to be huge. Like 3D televisions started coming out and movies started coming out in 3D. And that eventually died down. And it was like, oh, I guess it was just Avatar, But I wonder if
it did kind of change the game, though. I mean, it still is consistently the franchise that can make like $1 trillion. I don't know. And I mean, the movies, I don't know.
I think you're right. Like Avatar, it's true, but it doesn't seem like it set up an industry trend for 3D movies as big as I thought it could. It didn't like herald in the technology where like for a while movies were coming out in 3D televisions, but the momentum seemed to die off.
Yeah.
But Avatar is an interesting thing because it's like, what was I reading? The cultural impact of Avatar has been really minimal when compared to something like Star Wars or other big, but yet it's made a ton of money. So that's like the eventification of it, right? People go to it because it's like an event to see, not so much for the quotable lines that are going to permeate pop culture or something.
Right.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those movies I feel like is an event as a whole. It's I don't know. It's nothing new, but I mean, it's definitely presented in a way that's new, in a way.
Isn't that something Cameron has been accused of before? Is that he's not like the new ideas, right? That he had to credit Harlan Ellison, I think, on the Terminator, and then there's been what is it? The Avatar is really just a rehash of what's that story like? From when we were kids.
Dances with Wolves and Last of the Mohicans and every one of those stories. Not to say those are good stories. Yeah.
I mean, Steve Jobs was not wrong when he said, "Good artists create, great artists steal." I guess.
Damn. Yeah. So what do you think of this, Lee? Because I know you used to be a big purchaser of physical media, right? like Best Buy has, I think at this point, they've removed all physical media from their floor, right? That you
Wow.
can't,
They
you
did?
can't go in and buy Blu-rays or DVDs or
No
whatever.
way.
You can't
It's
anymore.
weird to walk in there now.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure. So like these shows, and the term that I learned that they're using for this is called like getting vaulted. So I believe Westworld is
Mhm.
it's not even on. You can't even find it anymore on HBO. Like it's off. It's off the platform. And Paramount is going to do that with the Max service as well. Like hundreds of older shows and titles, whatever, they're going to be removed off the platform.
Yeah.
Because as long as it's up and people are watching, they have to pay residuals to the writers, right? The royalties
And
for
the
all this stuff.
actors.
Wow.
Right. So
That's so interesting.
so by
I didn't know
removing
that
it
was
and
happening.
just vaulting it, right? Like just locking it away, it's gone. Like it's not accessible. They don't have to pay any of that stuff anymore. So that can save them millions of dollars every year.
Wow.
But do you think that as more studios do this with movies and shows, do you think that's a way for physical media to come back? Because if you own the physical media, you can watch it anytime you want, right?
It is. I don't know. I don't know if there's a way for physical media to ever come back. I think that like if you jumped on that bandwagon and you still kept your collection, I didn't. I
Right.
think that you have a lot of things that people don't. I mean, one of the things that like gets brought up all the time are so when you used to watch DVDs and you used to watch movies and stuff, like you used to get a lot of the commentaries by the actors. A lot of those things in those commentaries, I bet you they wish they could take back.
Yeah, I
because they were
remember
just
you looking
rolling.
forward to like, oh, when this comes out, I'm going to listen to the director commentary or see like the director's cut, like certain
And so
special things you would get.
you get all those extra features, all those extra Easter eggs and stuff. That's one thing you don't get with like streaming services, or like for me, I'm a big purchaser of like digital movies. Like I don't get all that. I don't know. One of the things I've kind of like succumbed to is like, I don't believe you own anything. It's like
Nowadays,
they found a way to take it all from you.
Yeah, you walk out of it with it in your pocket, and they'll find a way to snatch it out.
It's like even if you have all your physical media, they found a way to raise your rent or your mortgage to the point where you can't take it all with you.
The funniest one that I heard was the book 1984. People had bought the digital copy of it off of Amazon. Amazon found out they didn't have the rights to sell it digitally. So they just made everybody's copy of 1984 disappear off their devices.
That's going to happen with video games.
I'm like, man, the irony is...
right.
But,
but like Gen Z will probably be the first generation that doesn't really have any kind of attachment to physical media, whether it's, for audio or, visual media. But it never been a real priority to them, right? Like, and that's kind of strange.
You know what I was thinking about when you were talking about this, Rick, is I was thinking it seems like the old is new again. Like there are a bunch of lost films from the early history of cinema that they just, and I think that's so interesting. Like they did a big production. They weren't thinking of any like release to video. There was none of that, right? So like after you released a film, you made the money that you could, and then you might reuse the film or reuse something, then just destroy the sets and everything. There was no thought of like keeping the longevity of it. And then with TV shows too, like there's a lot of TV shows, if you go back far enough in time, where they're just completely lost to time now. But maybe that won't happen this time around because media is so cheap to there's how many hours of YouTube video gets uploaded every minute or something. But back then there was a reason to like reuse film and things like that. But I wonder if there's certain things might be lost that that people didn't realize was valuable, and then oops, it's gone when it gets vaulted, like you were saying. Yeah.
And what's our way to fight that from happening? Like what can we do to prevent these shows or movies, whatever, from disappearing forever, right? Do we have any way to stop that? And I thought, what I had mentioned, putting these projects into the public domain, to forever if these companies are going to vault these things to take the tax write-off,
Mm-hmm.
then putting them in the public domain now is the way to preserve them,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. But again, how can we as consumers vote with our wallet to try to make that happen? Or what other means do we have? Because it seems like if they're not going to gain from it, then they to them they may as well just shelve it, right? They've got nothing to gain, so they're going to just
like, and even trying to get Congress to do anything about it, to pass some kind of a law to protect these things from disappearing forever. Good luck, because the public doesn't have the funds to lobby these politicians to even take it up. And if for some reason you have some politician that finds this interesting and finds it important and was to try to get some kind of a bill going, you're going to have how much money from these studios thrown at politicians to stop this from being a thing. It's tough.
Yeah. It seems like quality public domain, they would just see it as competition, so they'd be willing to put resources to just shelve that too.
What's funny too is, I don't know when the last time you guys put in a Blu-ray, and I don't know if either of you guys I don't remember if you had a 4K Blu-ray player, Lee, or not, but
I did. I had two of them. I had one that didn't really work because it wouldn't update, and I had to exchange it for another one.
Right.
And I just got rid of them all together, and I'm just streaming's the way to go.
The video and audio quality is noticeably better, way better than anything you can get on streaming. Holy cow.
Really?
It is a big difference. And now I have a little home theater system, right? And I have a little more invested than just like a sound bar or something. But man, it is a big difference on physical media compared to streaming. It's not even close.
Yeah. If you have a great theater setup, and then you have Disney Plus streams Dolby Atmos or whatever, is that it still doesn't compare to the actual physical disc though, right?
It does not.
Yeah.
It is not. So
it's okay. I'm a visual snob. So.
Even the picture quality though is really good, right? And I guess it depends on the TV that you're streaming on, I suppose, right? Where if you could tell the difference or not, I don't know. But for me, yeah, there is a pretty darn big difference. So yeah, anything else you guys want to add to the whole green lighting problem in Hollywood and what it means for writers and creatives going forward?
I guess I was thinking about as we were all talking, trying to think about what we as the consumer can do. How can we, they say vote with your wallet, but how can you vote with your wallet if there's none of that content to buy? It's things like that. What can we, and they're lobbying so hard for certain things. And what can we as consumers do, I guess?
And
or are we just screwed? I don't know.
It's almost defeating too when you do find an interesting show on one of these streaming services somewhere, because you get invested into it, and the next thing you hear is it's been canceled because they didn't deem it worthy enough.
Mm-hmm.
And it's why do you want to continue to try to invest your time into getting into these new stories and new characters, only for them to be taken away? And it's man, it's so frustrating. So what do you do? What are our options? I don't know. I don't know. Personally.
Have you guys seen those new studios that are crowdfunded?
Really?
No, that's cool fine. Though. I love the idea of that.
Yeah, it's a big thing nowadays. Is they have big actors in them too, but they're crowdfunded movies. The studio's crowdfunded. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Are the studios crowdfunded or the movies themselves? Are they actually?
The studios crowdfunded and they produce the movies.
That's cool. Yeah, mm-hmm. I see. So the consumer driving it into
person that I think pays into it gets a producer credit.
It seems like a better way than having, tax write-off of some creative work just because you don't care about the creative content. The dollar is all that matters. This is the other direction where the consumers are saying, hey, the creative content actually matters.
Yeah. Well, this has been another good discussion, guys. I liked it. I think we touched on a lot of stuff and covered a lot of ground in this particular topic. So yeah, anything else from you guys? You feel good about it?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for checking in again, and hopefully we'll see you next episode. Thank you very much.
Thank you.